Okay. Buongiorno. It's a great joy for me to be here with you today, even if only remotely. I'd like to focus my comments today on the answers to 4 questions, if I could. First question, why is it important to measure volunteering? This is an issue I know is, in a sense, behind much of your discussion. There are 3 reasons that I think it's important to measure volunteering. The first one, of course, is that volunteering is important. The world is facing enormous social and economic and environmental problems at the present time. And these are problems that governments simply can't handle on their own, nor can they simply turn them over to the market. Volunteering is not the only answer to this issue, but I think it's an important part of the answer. Volunteering, in a sense, is one of the crucial renewable resources for social and environmental problem solving in our world, and therefore it's an obligation for us to make the maximum use of it. And that brings me to the second reason. Why do we need to measure it? It's being important doesn't necessarily explain why we need to measure it. And I think the reason that we need to measure it is that what isn't counted in our world simply is assumed not to count, as we would say in America. Volunteering is undervalued. Measuring volunteering can, in a sense, therefore, increase the amount of volunteering by giving people a sense of appreciation for the work that they do, for displaying the impact that volunteering has. And without the opportunity to measure volunteering, we simply can't convince people as fully to put the time in to undertake volunteering, nor can we attract the attention of policymakers who are largely unaware of the enormous scale and scope and contribution that volunteering makes to our world. And then the third reason why I think it's important to measure volunteering is that what can't be measured can't really be managed. And we have an obligation to make the most effective use of volunteering that we can. Without data, without an understanding of the scope or the character, the composition of volunteer work, it's very difficult to make the most effective use of it. It's also difficult to evaluate the contribution that volunteer promotion agencies like yours make to the improvement of volunteering and to the management of volunteering. We have no way of knowing and being able to demonstrate whether your work is making a difference or not, and whether there are some techniques that are more effective than others. And so for all of these reasons, I think it's important to measure volunteering. The second question I wanted to address is, what's the state of art in measuring volunteering? How far along have we gotten in the effort to find a way to measure volunteering? I think that the answer to that question is that we have simply not come far enough, though we are right on the verge of an enormous breakthrough. In the statistical community, volunteering is considered to be outside what is called the production boundary of the economy. It's therefore not measured. It's not treated as having any economic value at all. And while we're not certain what the economic value of volunteering is, I think we are certain that 0 is the wrong answer, that there is just enormous value, social, economic, political, environmental, to valuing volunteering. Yet, because of this statistical treatment, volunteering is simply not counted in most countries of the world. And what data we have on it is just terribly imperfect. Everybody's using a different definition. Everybody is collecting a different set of variables. In many places, we count the numbers of volunteers, but we neglect to ask how many hours they spend. We neglect to ask what work they're doing, and therefore we have a difficult time generating any kind of comparative insight into the scope and the character and the importance of volunteering. And so this is simply not acceptable. This is an important resource, and we can't really manage it correctly or value it correctly without some degree of measurement. So this brings me to the third question. Is it possible to measure volunteering systematically and to put a value on it? Well, I think it is, and more than that, I think we're at a unique moment in the measurement of volunteering. We're just completing work on a new manual on the measurement of volunteering that is scheduled to be released in the next several months by the International Labor Organization. In fact, in about 2 weeks, I'll be traveling to Geneva to take part in a meeting of a technical experts group, which is going to do the final review of the draft of this manual. This manual will provide an internationally approved methodology for measuring volunteering using a common definition and a common system for assigning a value to it, a system that is going to assign the value based on the actual work, the occupation that the volunteer performs, and the wage that is typically paid for that occupation when an organization has to retain paid workers to carry it out. This manual promises to produce literally a revolution in the availability of solid data on volunteering literally throughout the world, not only in Italy, but in other countries as well. The key, though, is to use the 2011 Year of Volunteering in Europe in order to seize this opportunity and to put this manual into operation in Italy and in countries throughout the European Union, and indeed in countries throughout the world. And then finally, what is the role of the infrastructure organizations, like those in CSVnet that you are part of? I believe that the role of these promotion organizations is absolutely crucial. At the end of the day, volunteering is a social act. It's not simply an individual act. Volunteer work needs to be managed, just like other forms of labor, in order to be most effective. And while there's a myth that volunteers drive out paid workers, our data, which we've collected all over the world, suggests just the opposite, that volunteering is most extensive in countries that have significant paid staff organizations in the nonprofit sector, because these paid staff provide an important management vehicle for making sure that volunteers are effectively used and thereby encouraging volunteers to take part. Volunteer promotion organizations play a crucial role in teaching organizations how to manage volunteers, how to recruit volunteers, how to demonstrate their appreciation for volunteers. These are all important facets of the effort to encourage volunteering and to get the most bang for the buck, as we would say in the United States. And these organizations are also crucial in helping to promote policies that promote volunteering in businesses, in government, in all facets of society. I believe they're a good investment. They can produce enormous returns by leveraging millions of hours of volunteer effort. And I think they are particularly crucial at this moment as we promote the development of this manual from the International Labor Organization, and we look to the volunteer promotion agencies such as yours to make sure that this manual actually gets picked up and is used by statistical agencies around the world. I salute the work that you do, and I am delighted to have been part of your meeting. Thank you.